Moving on, and it was a wrap for the 106th Nebraska Legislature last week. There were several bills that could have an effect on agriculture in the state, too. Market Journal's Bill Dodd has been keeping his eye on what passed, what didn't, and what it means for producers in the state. Bill, what have you got for us today?
Thanks, Troy. This legislative session has been a bit of a roller coaster. Property tax was an issue at the top of the list many producers were hoping to have resolved this session. Currently, Nebraska ranks 7th in the nation for highest property tax rate. And many farmers and ranchers hoping to get a bit of relief in this area were sorely disappointed. LB 720, which is better known as the Imagine Nebraska Act, was structured as a corporate tax break for businesses that are creating new jobs. Now, the act passed its first 2 rounds of debate with significant support from proponents of LB 289, which confronted the issue of property tax and K-12 funding for the state. However, things took a turn for the worst when lawmakers couldn't reach a compromise in passing both bills. I recently talked with Fred Knapp, who covers the legislature for NET News, and he says there was a clear division between ag and business groups.
Well, they have different structural interests. You know, the rural interests want less property tax, and the city folks want less corporate taxes. And so they were at loggerheads, and since one didn't get their way, the other one couldn't get their way. So the corporate tax incentive bill advanced with the support of a number of people who supported the property tax bill. They, on the argument, oh, we need to advance them both. Well, then it came time for the property tax bill, which in its final form was going to tax a bunch of services like car repair and home repair. And there just wasn't the stomach for that. It didn't get the 30 votes needed for, 33 votes needed for cloture. So the rural people then withdrew their support for final passage of the corporate tax incentive bill, and they, along with the urban progressives who didn't like that in the first place, were enough to stop it. So both measures died.
While the property tax bill failed in the legislature, an initiative has been filed to move this issue to the 2020 ballot. Meanwhile, Governor Ricketts has signed the new state budget, which will generate a reported $550 million in property tax relief over the coming years. And speaking of Governor Ricketts, in past years, he and the Nebraska State Patrol have been outwardly opposed to legalizing industrial hemp. However, recently, many state leaders, including the governor, began to come around to the possibility of opening the doors to this renewed industry. Now, among state leaders who backed the idea of hemp production was LB 657 sponsor, Senator Justin Wayne of Omaha. And he's been working tirelessly to pass this bill in coordination with the Department of Ag, the Nebraska State Patrol, and the governor's office. So why the change of heart for all these state officials? Well, one change at the federal level was enough to give many lawmakers pause for reflection.
The major thing that changed, of course, was that in the 2018 Farm Bill, they delisted hemp as a Schedule I drug, and defined it as containing less than 0.3% THC. So that kind of gives states the go-ahead to expand hemp production, but there was resistance in Nebraska. A few senators who voiced concern that this would be a slippery slope, and first you have hemp, and then you have medical marijuana, and then you have recreational marijuana. On the other hand, it's an alternative crop. It has a lot of support from major farm groups, and so there's an economic argument for promoting it and legalizing it.
An economic argument was indeed made by Senator Wayne and many supporting farm groups. Ultimately, this was not an opportunity an agricultural state like Nebraska could let pass through its fingers very easily.
So farmers are loving this idea. We had over 30 farmers show up to the committee hearing. We keep getting emails every day from new people who are wanting to grow, wanting to manufacture. We have testing facilities that are top of the line testing facilities for chemical testing, all types of testing that currently can't test these products because it's illegal. So this is going to open up a whole new market for the state of Nebraska. It's a whole new growth opportunity. You can grow seeds, you can grow the actual hemp for the stalks. There's CBD oils you can create out of it. This is a whole new market that is looking to grow to be over $1 billion in the next 2 years.
And while new laws were being enacted, one older law got a bit of a new look. The Right to Farm Act was first passed in the 1980s, and this basically gave established farmers grandfathered rights when it came to neighbors who wanted to file suit over some of the discomforts that could come with living next to some farming operations. Now, under the older version of the bill, Any established farmer was exempt from legal actions from neighbors complaining of obnoxious noise, odors, or any other similar grievances. It basically argued if you're moving next to a farm or an agricultural institution, you should probably know what to expect. Now, however, the new look to this bill does give neighbors a bit of legal elbow room if their agricultural producing neighbor decides to change operation formats.
What has happened over the years is that case law has developed that says, well, but if you have a significant change in your farming operation, say you move from row crops to a hog confinement or a chicken barn, that you could still be sued. And so in its original form, this year's proposal would have said significant change doesn't count. If the farm was there before, you're immune. People objected to that. They said it would cut off rural residents who live next to farming operations that undergo significant changes. It would impair their ability to go to court. And so the final version that was passed says you have 2 years from when the nuisance arises to get to the courthouse and sue.
So while the new version of the bill does give neighbors of ag producers a bit of discretion as it pertains to such complaints, it simultaneously solidifies a producer's certainty if they do change operations and there are no complaints levied against them in a 2-year period, they would be free and clear from any complaint or suit brought against them. And Troy, that's what I've got my eye on this week. For now, I'll send it back to you.